Alright gang, I'm taking this generator apart to see if we can figure out how to get this pull cord fixed. So there's a series of screws that holds the plates on the back, as well as the front here. I thought maybe I could take that whole front right out and get access to it, but not looking good. So I'm going to start to go in through the side here. I'm going to remove these 3 bolts here, and there was 4 screws in the handle part. Those are already out, and see how I can get access. So there was one screw that held this little tab in place. The pull cord comes out to the side case, so this allowed me to feed that through the hole to get the side plate off. But yeah, here's our pull cord mechanism in there, and it's smooth, but it's just not latching, not catching. So you can see 1 bolt here. I'm assuming there's 2 others. Usually there's 3 to 4 of them, but they're kind of hidden in behind. Again, that's the challenge of these little suitcase generators. There's not a lot of room. So anyway, we're gonna start to pull the cover off here and see what we can find. Alright, sorry for the background noise, neighbor's generator running there. So this cover for the exhaust had to be removed to release at this point. Just the screws and bolts I showed earlier wasn't enough, but it's also caught on this side. I'm assuming it's the same, so I'm going to try and get this out of there. It has all the screws removed, but it still doesn't want to come free. Okay, so I was able to get the top housing, half of the housing off, or at least the top from this angle. It's the side, but there's these little clips here that catch on the underside of each half, so that's why it wouldn't let go. Once I get the front plate here released from it, then on both sides I was able to get that off. So inside, this is all unscrewed, but of course there's lots of connections, some electrical, some gas, a clutch, the choke. But first thing I did was to get me a little more room was to release the gas hose from the tank. And it's kind of a neat little filter on the end there. Anyway, neighbor's generator's done, so there goes the background noise. Anyway, next step is to get the choke to release that little cable to the front choke here. So it looks like it's just a threaded housing. I'm going to tackle that next. Alright, so the choke lever button does not want to come off, and so I can't free that up easily from that end. So I took the other side plate off. I'm gonna take a look to see maybe I can just free it up here. I just got to determine what kind of trouble it is to feed it back in. But if not, I also may be able to get the access I need. I can see, I don't know if you can see it there, the 3rd bolt for that housing. So if I can get a little wrench in there, I might be able to get it off without tackling the choke. I'll be back. Okay, it's been pretty difficult to get in there with a socket or a wrench. So I'm gonna go through the front here. I've got 2 bolts here to remove this mechanism on the front. Assume it's my inverter, and then hopefully have access with a socket and extension to get at that bottom bolt, or 8mm. Anyway, I'll be back again. Alright, so it's out. You can see the 3 spots where the bolts went. That's the toughest one down there. Once I took the bolts out of the front here, just 2, one on each side, that connected these tabs to the inverter part, I was able to get it out of the way and then be able to get in there, get at those bolts. So anyway, those are the 3 bolts, 8mm. Here's the device, the mechanism. This was laying in there in the bottom, free, and I think that's one of the little catches that's underneath here. If you have a quick peek, see there's one in there on this side, and that one's missing. So the task now is to figure out what held that in there and mechanically how this thing works. And basically when you start the crank, it should throw those two little wings out to the side and catch in here and then turn the engine over. But anyway, first challenge is to figure out how that goes in there and will stay in there going forward. I may have to fabricate something, but anyway, that's where we're at. Alright, I got that center bolt out. I just went to the Torx DeWalt there just to ratchet it out a bit. Just tried it with a regular ratchet, but just couldn't get a grip on it. So the little forces that the gun puts on it's enough to free it. But anyway, one single bolt, the shoulder bolt there, goes down through the center, holds this cover on. You can see that other wing that was still in there. That's all it is. Everything's plastic. Of course, it's got a little spring underneath of it. So this one that was laying in the bottom when housing, when I opened it up, doesn't have the spring. I do have a collection of springs, so I'm sure I can find something that'll work. Anyway, that just with the spring inside of it fits over that little stem, and there doesn't seem to be much resistance here, but I guess the forces when you pull on that throws those out and they catch inside of there and cranks it. So I'm gonna have a closer look, because I would guess that you'd think there'd be more spring to that. There's not much resistance, but there is. You can see some channels on the underside of this cap that those little knobs on the top fit into. So I see a tab here that's broken off. I don't know what kind of trouble that's going to cause us. But anyway, I got to have a look at this and see how this works mechanically. How this works. Looks like as it turns that way, it throws them out. Anyway, everything's plastic, so not real robust. All right, I'm gonna just try and throw that back together and make sure it's tight, and then maybe throw it back in just to see if it, or maybe bench test it, pull in the core to see what it does. But then if it seems to, those arms come out, then I'm gonna throw it back together and see if I can pull the actual motor over, the engine over. Okay, so I went through my collection of springs. This one's pretty tiny. There's what I need, the little short black one that came out of the inside of this arm. So I've got one the right diameter. I might have a little bit different compression. I'll have to cut it to length to go inside of this guy. And that will just keep a nice upward force on those so that it stays in the channels underneath here. Now, I think this here tab might be giving us some challenges too, and so I might have to gear something up there and do some hot work. But maybe I can put a few little small metal pins heated up or screws or something in there to build that up to fit on the underside of this cap. I think they just keep that cap stable. But anyway, that's where I'm at. I'm going to cut this spring down to that size so that this little arm has its spring that it needs. Alright, back again. So what I had to do was put that little spring in that I made. I just had to frig with it to get the right length and tension. And I got it in under that other arm pivot point. And this cap, however, when I put it together and tried it, it shifted. And that's what the two tabs, the black tabs, square tabs, there's one here and there was one under the other side that actually had broken off. They pivot in a channel underneath the side, underside of this, and then catch. And then at that point it throws the arms out. But this here ring, probably from the forces of pulling so hard and so much, and when this arm kicked out, it actually distorted somewhat. It wasn't flat. It had curved up a little, raised up a little on one side. So what I had done, and I didn't show it, but basically I took it put it in a vise just gently in a propane torch and just warmed it a bit to flex it back to get it relatively flat again. So that took that rise out of it that would allow the little nub on top of the arm to slide out of position on the under channel here, and now it seems to be staying. So I can't do it with one hand, but when I do pull this, the arms pop out. When I let it start, as soon as I start to let it go back in, they close back up. So I didn't torque this center bolt a lot at first. I just put it in to snug it, and it worked fine. So then I've torqued it since slightly with my gun, so it doesn't come loose, and it still works. And then I dropped it into the spot and lined up the holes where it should be, and just held it with my hand and gave it a pull, and it immediately caught that housing for the engine. So did that a few times, and it kept catching every time, and then I gave it an extra pull after it caught, and the motor does turn over no problem. And so I think we're on the right track. I'm gonna mess with it here on the bench a little bit more and put some strain on it to make sure it's not gonna pop open again, because it is quite an ordeal to get this thing apart, to get at the bolts to take this off. I think it'd be worth my while to see if there's one online that's maybe made a little bit better. This is basically all plastic. It's got a couple of small little metal bushings in the screw holes, that center bolt, and maybe inside here there's a little bit of metal, but for the most part, and the little tiny springs too, but it's plastic. So I think, as long as that opening and the bolt pattern's fairly standard, I might be able to, spend a few bucks and get a better pull cord if this doesn't hold up. So anyway, I'm going to bench test some more with some forces on top of it, and to see if it holds up. If it does, I'm going to put it back in and then reverse the process here. Give it a go. Okay, so it's back in there. You can see it catches right away. So it's all bolted in. Right now I'm just going to reverse the process, get the inverter part bolted back in, all the side plates, get the gas line on, all that good stuff. Put it all back together. So I'll be back in a moment. Alright, there it is. It's all put back together. Radley, so it's a home hardware brand, I believe, 2500 watts inverter. Check the oil, it's got oil. It's got gotta get some gas put in it. Pull cord still functioning as it should. I'm gonna see if I can find a couple of screws as well to put in these four holes on this side plate. It'll fit. They didn't come with it, but anyway, I got some resistance there, so it's working. Anyway, I'll be back when I get some screws on that, and then we'll get some gas in her and give it a go. Okay, so I got some gas in it. Everything's back together. Got some screws for that side plate on the other side. Cranking and not getting really a kick over. So I had a closer look at the oil, and it is low. So I'm going to top up the oil to where it should be. Try again, and it might allow that gas also to work its way through. But that's where we're at. So oil, these things won't run low oil. We got detectors on them, so I'm going to try that next. Well, here we go. Put the oil in it where it should be, and first pull it kicked a little bit, adjusted the choke, and second pull it started. guess the next test is does it generate electricity? So let me grab a drill or something there and I'll be back. Alright, so I got this drill plugged in there. It is currently set up on the eco mode, so it's run, you know, the RPMs are low. But as soon as I run the drill, which runs fine, the engine revs up. Have it. Let's try the other plug. Very good. I'll try the 12 volt DC socket and the USB plugs later, but I don't expect there to be any issues. Based on what I see thus far. Anyway, $50. Might have an hour and a half into it, 2 hours of post. That's while doing the video as well. So there. Anyway, comment if you wish. Really, it was a 10mm, 8mm bolts and Phillips screwdriver was all I needed. And so far so good. What I did notice though, when I was pull starting it, the cord could be on the short side with a full arm length pull. So I'm wondering if it got pulled to its extreme and maybe had caused that little arm in there to come out of place. But anyway, so just be mindful of that. I guess when I'm starting it is not to pull too hard. And we'll see how it goes. But yeah, like I said, comment if you wish, like and subscribe, and again, hit that notification bell for notifications of new videos. So this is, I've only had a few videos of this type. Most of them are yard sale videos, but this was a yard sale find, and so here's the follow-up video on the repair. Hopefully you got enough info from it to see how that's done, but we'll see how that goes. As I mentioned during the video earlier, that I may look at an improved pull cord unit that's got a little bit more metal in it that should fit their 3-bolt pattern. But anyway, for now we're going to go with this, and at least I know that's an option down the road. Bye for now.